It's a pleasure to stand before you today on this significant occasion. Today's seminar is not just an event, but it is a reflection of our shared commitment to understand the landscape of immigration. Whether you are a student, a skilled worker, or someone deeply invested to these issues. Throughout history, Canada has welcomed immigrants not just as workers, but as saw Canada embrace policies that actively sought skilled immigrants, recognizing their potential to bolster our industries and drive innovation. This vision and drive innovation. This vision led to establishment of programs like the Federal Skilled Worker Program and the Provincial Nominee Program, which contributed to play a crucial role in our immigration system today. Many choose to stay and contribute to Canada's workforce and society after graduation. Yet too often, they face uncertain pathways to permanent residency. Despite the rich history of immigration and immense contribution of skilled workers and international students, challenges persist. That is why we all collaborated and formed a union called ISSU, International Students and Skilled Workers Union Manitoba. Here we have the 5 leaders of our union: Yatin Yoshi as the chairman of ISSU, Jashanpreet Singh as the president of ISSU, Jessica Jung as the secretary media relations, Baljinder Singh, general secretary of ISU, and myself as Simran Sharma, the vice president of ISSU. And of course, all of you, the important members of our union, ISSU. ISSU is formed to raise the voices of international students and workers. We recognize the immense value that each of you bring from diverse culture that shape our society. Our members started peaceful gatherings in front of legislature building, started this year, through which many other suffering people got aware and joined this movement. After that, we have some potential meetings with some government officials and specifically with our Immigration Minister, Malaya Marcelino, on April 10, 2024, which resulted in the announcement of work permit extension policy and few withdrawals were conducted afterwards. The proposal we presented to the higher authorities of Immigration Department of Manitoba helped out the candidates whose PNPs were in process from a longer period of time and those whose work permits were expiring soon. So they raised a 45 days web form which helped out majority of our people to get the results of their application soon. Despite all of this, our union ISSU is still working for post-graduation work permits expiring in 2024 and 2025. Secondly, we are working for fair pathways for permanent migration by the employers, for which we raised a petition for federal government, and we need 100,000 signatures to get that open up in the Parliament Assembly of Ottawa. We understand that the effective communication is the key to empower our community. That is why we committed to traditional campaigns, informed and engaged. We regularly organize workshops and booths on events that cover various aspects of immigration and cultural integration, ensuring that our community is well informed about the current issues of immigration faced by international students and workers in Canada, which led to opportunities for them to learn and support. Our union has social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok named as ISSU Manitoba or ISSU.MB, which regularly updated with the latest news regarding immigration. To expand our reach and impact and to connect with broader audience, we as ISSU leaders decided to have the immigration seminar today. This is the first free immigration seminar ever taking place in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Immigration process and resources that can help in the processing of your files for permanent residency. We are honored to have our experts and professionals of this field who will share their knowledge and experience with us today. I would love to introduce the professionals who have joined us here. So we have Pagan Singh Bhatt from Canvas Immigration. Guys, please give a big round of applause to these professionals who have came here to support us. Secondly, I have Gerard Heshek from GH Immigration. Then I have Dr. Muhammad Abrar from A&M Canadian Law Corporation. I have a few team members of Brightling Immigration who came here to support us today. Also, we have Atul Bharadwaj, the proud supporters of this event are Sira Immigration from Ontario, Bright Sky Immigration and Services, Brightling Immigration, GH Immigration Services, Canvas Immigration Services, A&M Canadian Immigration Law Corporation, and also our chief, we have the Atul Bharadwaj Orbital Immigration, and we have Camille Lambrou as the Member of Parliament of Liberal Party. So now I would like to call Mr. Camille Lambrou on the stage to say some words in our support. Thank you very much.
No problems. It's actually very encouraging to be able to come out today to be able to address what I know is a very, very important issue. And I don't want to underestimate the word important, because quite frankly, I understand the sacrifices that each and every one of you and your family members quite often that have actually made in order to be here in Canada. When you came to Canada as an international student, I am of the opinion you came to Canada believing that you were going to be able to land and become a permanent resident in Canada. I would be shocked if there was less than 5% of you that tell me that I'm wrong. I believe that you're here because you wanted, as one of the signs says, if you're good enough to work in Canada, you're good enough to study in Canada, why shouldn't you be good enough to be able to land in Canada? This is a very important issue and special because at the end of the day, I know that some of you that are here today might not be here a year from now because of mistakes, of misinformation, of different things that have taken place between now and where you are today. I can tell you that the government of Canada, the Minister of Immigration, who I have had many discussions with, in fact, ISSU and the individuals that are responsible for today's event, played a very important role in a policy change in Ottawa that had an impact across the country. It was actually the group of people here in Manitoba that raised the profile because they chose to make sure that the right people were being informed on the issue. What is the core of the issue? You're here as an international student, you get a postgraduate work permit, believing that eventually you'll get a nominee certificate and then you'll be able to land permanently here in Canada. The problem is the numbers. The numbers don't make sense. There's all sorts of now working visas that are in fact being rejected. The agreement that the provinces and Ottawa have now entered into have allowed for a special situation where international students that have a postgraduate work permit that's expiring, the opportunity to get those work permits extended on the belief that they're going to be getting a provincial nominee certificate. So there are some individuals in this room that I would be able to help out fairly directly. Those individuals, for example, that have been pulled out of the pool, that know they're going to be getting a certificate, and your working visa has expired or will be expired. Then we should be able to help. The issue where it's going to be a problem for many of you that are in this room is where there's no indication yet that you're going to be pulled out of the pool. For a lot of individuals, it's because maybe they came from another province and then into Manitoba. There's going to be some challenging, some that are more challenging than others. What's important to know is that no matter how serious the issues are, you have an association that's there to make sure that whether it's myself or my daughter, who's a very strong advocate for the group, Cindy, that are going to be there to do whatever we humanly can, because I understand how you have already contributed to the communities in which we live in today. I've talked to international students that are providing healthcare services, that are there to provide construction work, and so many other aspects. That message is in fact being communicated. For example, we have a national caucus that's coming up in September, a National Liberal Caucus, which is the Government of Canada. I can assure you that immigration and this issue is going to be on the agenda as we try to look for ways in which we can help as many people as we can. Whether it's the federal government, the provincial government, post-secondary facilities, combined, we made a lot of mistakes over the last number of years. And as a result, sadly, there's going to be some people that are going to be really hurt by it. And I'm sorry for that. I am committed to trying to minimize the hurt that's out there in the community. And wherever I can, as other parliamentarians, I'm not alone. There's a lot of people that are aware of the situation. Know that we're doing what we can to try to resolve the problem, both short-term and long-term. So know that you have allies, whether it's the association and the fantastic advocacy that they do on your behalf, or it's individuals that are in a position to be able to assist those community-minded lawyers or consultants to the parliamentarians. So we're here to help. I appreciate the fact that you've taken the time and you've already contributed so much to Canada, in our economy, and to our society, and know that there are people that are fighting on your behalf. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I have to go.
Thanks a lot to our Honorable MP, Mr. Kevin Lamrouz, for the valuable words and his time to put in supporting international students and workers. Thank you for attending this event, always supporting, and I really appreciate you for your support and assistance. Thank you very much. Now I would like to call Mr. Gerard Hedger from GH Immigration to share some of his experiences and his words for putting in support for international students and workers. This way, please.
It looks like everybody here is, but I'll just go on it anyways. One of the things that you really have to look at is you have to create when you're coming to Canada, even if you're a new student here or already been in your studies here, you have to look at a strategy for when you're finishing your schooling. The two things that I always try to put on to people is you have a job when you're here as a student, you get a part-time job that pays the bills. But when you're taking a job that pays the bills, you're always looking forward so that when you finish your education and applying for your PGWP or applying for MP&P or whatever which way, looking for your nomination, you have to look at getting a job that's going to be something that's beneficial to the education you took. And the reason for it is under MP&P, they have the International Student Stream. Now the International Student Stream, if your education and your work match, you can get a nomination in a matter of 2 or 3 draws. It's so quick, and all it is just because your NOC code and your education match. That is one of your big priorities that you should be looking at when you're doing, when you're sitting there going through your education. If you're on a 1-year program, you really, really need to focus on that. And the reason for it is anybody who's on it, has come off a 1-year program, knows how fast that 1-year PGWP goes by. It's so fast. And the thing about it is if you're not planning ahead when it comes to that, you'll come out, especially on a 1-year PGWP, you'll come at the end and you will not, you'll be saying, what do I do now? How am I going to get my nomination? And so on and so forth. So plan that way. Your studies should always also look at what is the most in-demand areas when it comes to Canada, when it comes to being in this province, the city and that. We all know that healthcare right now is big. The trucking company is big. There's lots of areas that there's lots of opportunities. And that I know that right now we're in a bit of a slower, the economy's a little bit slower, so finding jobs is a little bit more difficult at this time. But anyways, it'll change. As the economy changes, so do the jobs. So anyway, so it's really imperative to start planning when it comes to the end of your PGWP. That is one of your real key ideas. Now, at the end of your PGWP, when it comes up, when you're on your PGWP, right now the points, like you have either the immediate application, which is for students, you have the 6 months, or you have the 1 year, depending on if your NOC doesn't match and you're educated in Manitoba. You all know this. So I mean, it's just, you all know that your education, 6 month study, you can file for MP&P. There's a huge factor of LAAs. So that's one thing that we eliminated was that one. So that helps a lot. The other thing is when it comes to your, you're applying there, your points in that, make sure you're trying to find a job that's not in demand. Even if you are an international, if you do the international program where you qualify for the under the international student program, and are being treated by the new group of people that have been hired on. So it's not, so don't lose faith if you're just submitting after May 10th. It's still working. It's still working. And that's right, that's where it's coming from. So that's something to know as well. When it comes to now, so when you're coming up to the end of your PGWP, everybody knows you don't have a lot of options. Right now we look at second language. What's the second language? French. And that taking a French course will put you under so many other, give you so many more opportunities, because French mobility, Canada is trying to hold on to its French culture. So by getting a French course and learning it, and just enough to get a CBL, a CLB5, is enough to help you improve your chances of getting your nomination. Not either by both under Express Entry or under MP&P. It gives you a whole new opportunity just by having your language skills. I know it's, especially students that are in there right now that are still in studying, throwing a French course into your studies would really help benefit you down the road when it comes to your PGWP and your chances of nomination. People that are on LMIAs. Now, if you either you came or on PGWPs that came from another province, this is where things like your language skills are going to be very important, and the second language would be so beneficial to you. Because if you come from Ontario, like they said, right now in Ontario, it's really difficult to get a nomination. So one of the benefits by having the French and then coming to Canada, you get under the French mobility program, and in Manitoba, because we have such a large French community, again, you enhance your chance of being able to get your nomination. So where you're not getting you're barely getting between 500 and 625 points if you're on an LMIA or on a PGWP from another province. this is what you really have to look at. You have to look at something that will enhance what you currently have. It's not saying that what you have is not great, and I respect it so much. You go through so much being international students when it comes to being here. But the only way to be able to enhance that and be able to get and stay here is be able to strategize a way of being able to stay here and get something that'll benefit you more, that the government can't take away from you. And that's one of the things about it. So anyways, I don't have much else to say about it. I just wanted to fill in about these details. And I'm going to stick around for a little bit, and she'll ask if there's some questions down the road. I'll be more than happy to answer any of the questions you have. And that. So anyways, I'm sorry I went really fast. I hope I didn't want to go too long. So I went way faster. So anyways, I hope that you found it informative. If you have any questions, also, you know I'm on TikTok and all that stuff. I'm always available for questions that when it comes to things down the road as well. So anyways,
thank you so much, Mr. Gerard Hazard, for your time and support. And he always posts the difficulties of international students and workers on his social media platform, and he's the one. I really appreciate that he's with international students and workers. He's raising the voice for international students and workers. Please appreciate him with a big round of applause. And now we have a couple of our volunteers in the middle of the hall. If you have some inquiries, he's here to advise you legally. Feel free to ask him questions, please. If you have some questions or inquiries, he's the legal person who can answer you. If you have some, please ask it now. We can provide you the mic. Please raise your hand and feel free to ask your inquiries, because we don't have the one-to-one inquiries right now. Yeah. Please pass on the mic.
So the timeline for the open work permit extension is 109 days
right.
on the ISSU website, and that is breached. I mean, from the time the application was filed, and the decision is not been made.
Right.
So how much more time? Is there any way to push the application by any chance? Taking some help or calling them is not helping because they just like you only have
The
one.
biggest disadvantage is that if you're still working and the application has been submitted, of course, you know you're on maintained status and you can continue to work. So it's not a problem whatsoever. It's the persons that had the LMIAs that are like the PGWPs that expired with their nominations that were in. Those are the big problems. There's no fix on that yet, and I know exactly what you're saying. Like, you're just having to sit now and wait until they finalize the process through IRCC and gives you your extension on your work permit. Usually when you're filing before your PGWP expires, they'll send an EXT letter so that you can end up continuing to work and no problems while your application is being processed. But under the conditions that are happening right now, it's leaving persons like yourself out the run. And they don't have any way, like, you can't get in touch with FD&P. The only one I think that would help is by talking to your MLA in your area. The MLA can they do have ability to give a little bit of a push. It's not perfect, but that's the only other option that was really quite available. Sending web forms, unless it's past the normal processing date, they won't even acknowledge them. So you have to look, the only other avenue to get around it right now, sorry to say, is waiting. That's the only one, and it's not, I wish there was a way that we could get through that.
In fact, the processing time is fast to answer your one question, and even the local, not MLA, even the MP is not able to help. We have reached out to
Really,
them
they're
also.
not even helping either now, right? It's horrible, and I'm sorry, I wish there was a way we could get around it. I've been pushing for, like, their, through KPIC, which is our, program that we work with as immigration consultants. I've been putting to them, asking IRCC if they could get a special line put up for immigration consultants and that, so that we can talk right to IRCC ourselves instead of going through the normal, just a switchboard type thing. But it's falling on deaf ears too. It's government bureaucracy. They don't want us to have that much availability and that much access to it.
Just for now, if someone's coming in here as a tier 4 job, right, and for the express entry they do need a tier 0, 1, 2, 3
What was that, sorry?
tier 1, 2, 3 jobs.
Right, yeah.
So I was just wondering that I was just going through that federal skill program.
Sorry, what was that?
Federal skilled worker program is the
Skilled
express
worker,
entry
yeah.
draws.
Okay.
So if someone's working for the tier 4 job for like 6, 7, 8 months, and after that he get a job in tier 1, 2, 3. So will he be considered as the applicant for the express entry?
If for express entry, you mean?
Yeah.
No, actually your work is still going to have to match. It still has to match with the tier that you're applying under, or you have to have experience in that area. The one thing about is I didn't mention though is about is in MPP under the International Student Stream. If a person, if you have 2 years after you complete your studies to find a job in your field. If you can find that job in your field, you can file under the International Student Stream. Okay, that's one thing that's really a good point to remember, especially if you're on 3-year postgrad work permits. That really helps. But tier 1, 2, like any tiers 4s and 5s right now, if you end up in a tier 1, 2, or 3, that experience can't be used for express entry. It can only be, they won't accept it. It's because the NOC code is different.
Okay, got that.
Okay?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Full-time work